Thanks to everyone for joining me in this video. It is going to be different from when I usually do classic TV shows and movies. This is going to be really personal, and I don't know how long I'm going to talk, but I thank you from now for watching. Many of you may not know me. Many of you may. A mix there. I do want to start out by saying thank you for watching, and I will not monetize this video out of respect for my little buddy, my little dog, Falco, who's actually fairly big. He was about 80 pounds. For those of you who know me and knew a little bit about my dog, Falco, he unfortunately passed away October 14th, 2022. Now I know a lot of you pet owners will understand that difficulty. People who are not pet owners, I think you can still understand. But hopefully in this video you see how much of an impact he had in my life and even in some of your lives. Just hearing about him, just knowing about him, and so forth. I want to start by just sharing his story. Falco was a wonderful greyhound dog, 10 years old. And when he was about 2.5 was when he was adopted by myself from this rescue place who adopts race dogs from Tijuana, Mexico, who used to race on tracks and so forth. They could still do that over there. They're illegal in the U.S. And Falco could be described as he would persevere. He was persistent. He was always positive. He was nosy. He was gimme. He loved to eat. He never stopped eating. And he was a strong, muscular dog, and 80 something pounds, and very lean and muscular and so forth. And what set him apart, the rescue place has 50 dogs, and they're all around this home, and there's many entrances and little rooms, and the dogs could go to all the rooms. And when you're looking for a dog, you see some asleep, some are angry, barking at you behind this gate, and some are sleeping, and some are girls and boys, some are interacting with each other, and some are looking at you and saying, like, pick me, kind of thing. And notice this one dog was, kind of like, hey, it's me. And that's okay, let's see what other dogs. You move to the next room, but all of their rooms connect. So when you go to the other room, you see different dogs, you see some dogs that follow you and so forth. But I was like, hey, this dog, I was here, he went over here, and he's over here now. Okay, let's keep looking. And that dog basically kept following room to room to room. And we were like, that dog is calling me. So that was Falco. And so when we got Falco, such a joy. Falco is older than my YouTube channel. That gives you an idea. And he brought so much joy to my life, so much purpose to be able to do something for someone else. I don't have children, right? And so Falco was so many funny stories. His dad was a champion runner, basically. His dad had 700 puppies. They bred him to have a champion winning dog, and Falco was one of those. And unfortunately, around a year or two, no, actually 2.5 years or so, he broke his rear hock, his rear leg, running while he was training and so forth. And so for them, that's a useless dog to them. So they give it away. These shelters pick them up, and they nurture him to health. They're a nonprofit and everything, and they kind of try to get him out to people to foster them and so forth. And it's like we fell in love with Falco, but it's like he chose me kind of thing, right? And so Falco was great. We had so many adventures, and he loved going in the car. Eventually, Falco could always see, but at one point he started losing his sight, started bumping into things, and still a perseverant, happy dog, even after he went completely blind. Such a happy dog, such a energetic dog who can pull me. I could hold him pretty strongly, but sometimes he would pull me and so forth. But over the years, of course, he got older. He lived to be about 10.5. And a couple years ago, he developed kidney disease. We were told he had urinary problems, and so we had to give him a special feed, and the mix of the feed, was important to keep his kidney function at a certain level, and that actually held off the kidney disease for a while. And lately, he got sick really quickly. And I started noticing when I was walking him that he would limp. And he would always limp on the leg that he broke before he broke it. They had a titanium plate in there. They removed it. I took him to the doctor and have it removed it. He was good for a few years and would run and walk and no problems. But lately, he was starting to struggle on that leg and just not put full weight on it. So I was like, oh, maybe he sprained it. Like, they're dogs, right? And so it wasn't a big deal to me. But I started picking up that it started getting worse. And he started putting less weight on it, and he started struggling, get more tired, like his breathing got more labored. So it was time to take him to the vet, and I'd taken him to the vet before, and then he got better, but this was just a couple days ago, like the 10th of October of this year, and they had said that, well, he seems to be in a lot of pain. And if you don't know, dogs are really good at hiding pain, and greyhounds are the breed that do it the best. Some say it's their perseverance, it's their personality. They don't want to portray that they're in pain. Some people even theorize they don't want to worry their owners, and it's such a crazy thing to think about, that they're just so loving and so selfless, and they think of you as part of the pack. You're one of them and they're one of you, and so the doctor said, well, he's in a lot of pain. And I don't know, this doesn't look too good. And he took x-rays, and he was not excited. He doesn't like going to the vet. He obviously can't see. It panics him a little bit, and people are touching him and grabbing him and doing things to him. But it was necessary. The x-rays took about 24 hours to reveal what was going on, but unfortunately he had cancer on his leg, and apparently it spread more than that. There was large amounts of basically growth, bone spurs coming out, which they didn't even know about until they saw it. And then we looked at his, like rear end area, and you could see a bone protruding more than the other, and started losing weight all in like a day or two. This was very quick, and they said he had this, I think it's lysis, but it's a form of aggressive, really fast acting cancer. And within that day, he started crying at night. He wouldn't sleep at night, which is so unusual for him. One of those nights, actually, his last night, I stayed with him, like right next to him. I slept there. And he was no longer getting up. He would lay on his bed, and then he would just sit up, and that's about it. And he usually went to the restroom 3 times a day. Now it was down to 1 because he couldn't even get up. So he'd usually go at like 4 a.m, ask to go. He would never go in his bed. He was such a good dog. He always asked to go out. And I remember that was one of the most beautiful moments I had with him at the end, was he had to use the restroom, and it was 4 a.m. and I was like, oh my goodness. But he was now, his rear leg had almost shriveled. It was like it was being eaten away. It almost, by the end, it was almost purple, and that was just the cancer doing its thing. And I was so hurt to see that, and the fact that that it happened in a couple days like that aggressively, and he wouldn't put his weight on it. And we went outside together at 4 a.m, dark, and he was still pulling on me hard. He was still enjoying the scents of the flowers and the grass and the trees. And we had a moment. He just stopped, and he kind of can't see, but he kind of turned his head, and almost was like he was looking around. He didn't talk. Always, he doesn't talk, but it's almost like he's like, oh, look at this, Rick. We're just hanging out. And I took the moment in, and it was so, so beautiful. It was like time stopped. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to take him out again. Like, it's just the feeling, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't plan anything. I just knew he was sick. He couldn't make it home. I actually lifted him up 80 pounds and had to walk him home. I had to do like 2 runs. I walked, and put him down. Then I walked, and then finally I was able to get him, like, put him up the stairs. That was the last time he ever went outside on his own like that. The morning came and it was about 10 a.m. and I was getting ready to go to the vet to just talk about options, and the vet had emailed me before I even went, and I had asked all these questions because I was like, what are we going to do with Falco? Is there a treatment or so forth? And from what the doctor was saying, that this was really aggressive and it would be very likely, and pretty much he would have to have his leg amputated, and that the cancer would still spread. It wouldn't go away. They would still have to do chemotherapy, and it's almost a 99.99% chance the cancer will come back and you won't make it past 10 months. And when I heard that news, that was again 10 a.m. on the day that he passed away, on the 14th of October. And I asked him about, it's even hard to say this, but putting him to sleep. And I never even liked that term because it's like, well, they're not really sleeping, they're not alive anymore. And I was going through all these emotions, and this is the morning after I wrote to all of you on YouTube saying what was going on. And the doctor was like, well, there are options. They're at home. And I was like, wait, at home? And I thought, I think this is what we need to do. I need to call someone to have him do end-of-life care, but at home, so that Falco doesn't get stressed leaving home. And it may be a little more expensive, but that wasn't my thing at all. It was, I need to do what's best for my little buddy. And he wasn't doing well. And I called literally I saw the email and I immediately called one of the places. I will tell you what it is. If you're in the Los Angeles, West LA area, it's called Hearts and Halos. Dr. Peter was the one who came and provided this care for Falco and myself and my family, and he was the best. I would give him a 10 out of 10. I want to talk a little bit about that, but I called and he agreed, the vet, and Falco's vet agreed that this was probably a good course because he was just going to start suffering so much, and it was be fast acting, and who knows how long. I couldn't bear to see him suffer all that he was suffering at home and not sleeping, and I wasn't sleeping, and you can hear him at night go, "Roar, roar." And I was like, this is horrendous for him and for me and the situation, right? And it's heartache. I don't want to see my little buddy like this, but we need to wait for the doctor's results. And then when I found out 10 a.m., then at home care, everything happened in a couple hours. And I called at home care around 10:30 a.m. and I asked him, hey, I think we're going to have to go this route because my dog has really aggressive cancer and everything, and he's going really quickly, he's suffering, he's just suffering. But the dog is fighting it so much. And they said, well, when do you want it, today or tomorrow? And I said, well, when can you come today? And I was thinking 6 p.m., 10 p.m., later at night. They're like, we can be there in an hour and a half. And I just stopped and I just said, yeah. And I just said, I just called someone to come, and you know what I did. And I was feeling guilty. I'm like, am I acting rash here? Am I doing something that's not right? And I had to rationalize all of this. And I said, well, first let me focus on Falco. And he got a lot of his best treats. He got raw meat, which he absolutely loved. He got chicken. He had pain pills, by the way. The pain pills would work between 8 and 10 hours. So they would work between 8 and 10 hours. He needed a pill every 7 hours because he would start crying. And then after about 8 hours, so the pills would work less than what they were supposed to because I think he was in such pain and it was horrible. And so it wasn't going to get better. And so that's one of my reasons for thinking it. 2 vets backed me up on this. And I was scared. I was scared those 2 hours because Falco got ice. He loved eating and licking ice. He had lots of water. What I loved was that throughout the hard circumstance, he could be around me. He loved my brother as well. And so my brother was here to be with Falco, and he would be around and smell. Because, right, he's blind, so his biggest sense, his other 4 sense, right, his nose, his smell, his hearing would be prominent in hearing us and smelling us. And so he had one of my sweaters like right next to him, right in his periphery that he could smell, and he had his favorite little lamb chop toy, which he absolutely loved, his favorite stuffed animal. I want to tell you about this. I know maybe some of you don't want to hear this, but I really want Falco to be an advocate. His life not only impacted me, but he helped make a lot of the videos that you see me doing with classic TV and so forth. Why? Because there were days where I didn't feel great on my own, in my own life, in my own issues, in my own private situations, and Falco would come up to me and like nuzzle me and like lick me and be like, it's okay, and happy, and jump around and be like, here's my toy, play with me, kind of thing. And we'd toss around the toy, he would snuggle under my armpit and be like, stop, and then he would keep doing it. Like he knew what he was doing, right? Or he would be like, show me the muscles, we would say that, and then he would like stretch and he would show you like his butt and his arm muscles. And so he was a very fun dog, and he was very smart. He knew 10 different words for food, comida, hambre, morfe, like that's just 4, in 2 languages. And anyway, so I was scared what was going to happen. I was like, is Falco going to understand what's happening to him? And is he going to hate me for it? Is he going to think like I'm betraying him and doing this? Like, I was going through this, and I didn't know anyone who's been through this. So if you're going through this, or if you've been through something like this, I'm going to give you the details of what happened. But believe it or not, for what it was a beautiful experience. I know some of you say, how could you say that? But it really was. Dr. Peter did a wonderful job. It's still a couple days after, so I want to call him and just let him know that I'm very thankful for how he did his work and his job, and Hearts and Halos went above and beyond. And you know, they gave Falco the dignity that he needed. He didn't need to have his leg amputated or go through chemotherapy and pass away in 10 months and suffer every night and have pain pills until he naturally is taken. I didn't want that for him. And I don't think he wanted that. You know, someone said on my channel, a lot of people wrote to me in support, and many of you were pet owners, and a lot of you agreed with each other and said, Rick, your dog is going to tell you when it's time for you to let go. And again, that was strange for me. I hadn't experienced this. And I think the morning of, I just sat next to him, and I knew that his time was short. And he would give me the paw sometimes, but he would do it, and he did something. He was just sitting up, and I didn't ask for his paw or anything. Obviously, you can't see. He knew the direction that it was, but he just went like this. Really big paw on my arm, and it was high up. Like, it was almost higher than his head, so it was like a big statement he was making with his arm like this, and he just went like... And I said, that's him telling me it's okay. Like, help me. He was saying, Rick, like, connect with me. And it was just so powerful again. It came out of nowhere. It was just very poignant, and he stayed like that. And he just kind of stared at me with his, you know, his eyes that couldn't see, but he somehow penetrated me. And that's when I knew this was right. And Dr. Peters came right at the time that he was supposed to, from 10 a.m. This is 1 p.m. He came 5 minutes before his appointment, and he's outside, and he brought everything they needed. He brought a blanket. He brought a kind of a gym bag thing where you can carry him afterwards. And I know some of you may not want to know these details, so it's okay if you skip. I can tell you where to skip to. Maybe I'll put it up here after his end of life or his passing process. I do want to go through that because, again, I think some of you may benefit from hearing that. Maybe if you have pets and think, what can I do in this situation? This is a great choice. It may not be a choice for everyone, but I say nothing but good things. And when the doctor came, I said, Doctor, listen, he has kidney disease. He's blind. He has cancer. Here are the papers. And he looked at the papers and very carefully read them. He was so patient and supportive, the doctor. And he knew what he was doing. He'd been doing this, he said, for 35 years. He didn't even seem like... He was probably in his 40s to 50s, early 50s, and he knew exactly what he's doing. And he's like, listen, I don't use restraints. I'm not going to hold him down. I don't think he touched the dog while he was alive. And I was blown away. He set everything up. He put pads just in case for cleanliness. And it's just 2 injections. One puts him in a very, very, very deep sleep, sedative sleep. Almost like when you have surgery and, you can get poked and they do surgery on you and you don't wake up like that. And the next one just completely, it's an overbearing sedative, or it just relaxes you completely, where everything relaxes and stops. And so what he did, I was like, how are you going to do this if you're not going to touch him? And he's like, well, I have a blanket. And he had Falco smell the blanket, and Falco was laying down but sitting up. That was the only thing he could do, and it was very rare. He would only stand up maybe once a day now, completely. And he's like, I'm going to put the blanket on him, kind of like, bloop. I used to play with them like that, where I'd throw the blanket on and Falco would go like, what? Like, who's covering my head with the blanket? Like that. And the doctor didn't know that. And he said, I think I'm going to do that. And with that distraction, he didn't pull him down over it. He just like threw a blanket on top, like you do it to a kid or, to your friend or whatever. And as you do that, he's like, I'm going to put the injection in him. He just throws the blanket on, and Falco stands up. And the doctor told us he may react in a very big way. And that's just because he's blind. And he's like, that doesn't even really mean necessarily that it hurts. It may prick him, but he's going to overreact because of the situation. He's not warned, he can't see his senses and everything. So he immediately just stood up, Falco. And at this point, I did not know that he had been injected. I just saw the blanket go on. So what the doctor actually did was put the blanket and inject at the same time. So it was almost like a double touch. Like if I touch your head and your shoulder, you may only feel one if I do it at the same time. And if you like close your eyes, because it is 2 touch. It's like a psychological thing. And he stood up, and out. I almost thought like Falco messed up what the doctor was doing, and the doctor sat down. There was a little stair there, and he just sat down, and Falco was up, and he was kind of looking around, and his one of his legs, remember, was like given out, and he was holding it up like usual, and that's when his limbs just started giving out, and he went down. And my brother was there and kind of laid him down. That's when it hit me that he was given the sedative. Falco did not make a yelp, a sound, a cry. He cried all night, the couple nights before, during the day, even with the pain meds that were full strength and that were given to him. He had special meds because of his kidney disease, because if we gave him the others, they could cause immeasurable pain and hurt his kidneys, and just a lot of complications here, guys. And so it was, this is the hard part. He just laid down, and he went into this sleep very quickly, and he just laid down, and my brother had Falco's head in his lap, petting him and talking to him and doing this, but I was right next to him. I couldn't do that role. It was just really hard for me, but my role was to talk and to have Falco hear that I was there, and I sensed that Falco was relaxed, and he was asleep. He couldn't sleep through the night, but he was relaxing. His body was asleep. He wasn't twitching. He would do that sometimes. It was just like he went down, and he literally was in a peaceful sleep. But his heart was still pumping. He was still going. And then the doctor, I didn't even know, under the blanket, he already had the second injection and pulled it out, and this time it was pink. It wasn't clear. And he looked at me. He was directing everything to me, pet owner, and he said, this one's going to be shorter, the second shot. And so he goes to his leg, and he says, but before, I'm going to put some alcohol on his leg to see if he reacts. If he reacts, that means he's not fully asleep, right? And so we want to make sure he's fully asleep. So he put the alcohol on him. There was no movement. He was out and relaxed. And I believe that he could still hear. So we were talking to my little buddy, my little Falco. Relax, Falco. These are all things that I used to say to him, or Falco, you're gonna go night night. I said that to him, and some of you may think, why did you say that? When Falco used to go walk outside, he used to go inside. Remember, he's blind, so there's a lot of verbal things that I used to say to him. Go up, 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 up. That's how he climbed stairs. Down, down, down. That was a sign to climb down. He was a very smart dog, even if he was blind. And I would lead him, so forth, pretty much everywhere he would go. But he was really good at listening and understanding cues to know whether to walk. Watch. When I would say, watch, 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 that means he's going to hit a wall or something, and he would freeze. So he wouldn't hit a wall. And so all those things. And when he went night-night, he would come in from a walk. I would give him a treat. And then I was like, go to your bed. And he knew it was go. If I was to go to, and I'm like, go night-night. And that was for him to relax and go to sleep. And I don't know, I hope you understand the beauty in me saying night-night to him, because it was me telling him that it was okay. That he could relax, that he could go into this rest mode, right? That he could go night-night. And that he wouldn't feel anything, because it was okay. And we were there, and he was home. He wasn't at the vet stressed out with all these strange people. As I mentioned, the doctor didn't touch him, right? He literally was using a needle, and when you started putting the second injection, I had to leave the room. There was like a connecting room with no windows and so forth, with no door. It's basic connecting room, so you could walk right into the other room, and I had to step away for a little bit. And he said this would be fast. And when I came back, he kept injecting, and it took a while. He was fighting not with movement, but his body was still strong. Every time I'd go to the vet, even this last time, they're like, his heart is so strong. They always told me, even this last time, they were like, he's so strong. And the doctor got the stethoscope. He went down in a prone position, went down to his heart area, and I knew what he was doing. He was just listening to his heartbeat, hearing it slow down. And it seemed like an eternity that we were waiting for. He said it was supposed to be fast. Obviously, it varies by dog and situation, but it took him a while. I'd say it felt like a minute to 2 minutes, which was longer than the first sedation took effect. And he said that would be fast or faster. And he stood there prone, just listening, and I was just there, and just like, is this really happening kind of thing? And the doctor just pauses and looks at me, and with a sincerity in his eyes, he just looks at my eyes and says, I'm so sorry. And those words hit me so hard when he just said, I'm sorry. I didn't even want to see and look at his chest to see that his heart wasn't beating anymore. I touched his paws, and I just told him, it's okay, Falco. You're fine now. Good job going night-night. I know in my heart that he is at peace, that was the best decision, that the doctor did a fantastic job, that I wouldn't have been able to stomach him going through the chemotherapy, through an amputation. Even just going to the vet brought him so much stress and anxiety and pain. Just going, because he couldn't see, and they're touching him and pulling his leg, and he was terrified his legs would be between the leg. He would come right next to me like a 3-year-old, right? And this was even when he was older, and to know that he was able to go home with his favorite toys and all his favorite food, and he wasn't panting while he was in the car going on because he knows where he was going. He went through it like a champ. And it's almost like he deserved not to suffer like that afterwards. And so he was spared that. And it was my job to look after him and make sure that didn't happen to him. And that he would just fall asleep and enter the Rainbow Bridge. If you haven't heard that beautiful story of the Rainbow Bridge, and there's water there, there's eternal springs, there's food, and the dogs are running around, and they're restored to their perfect body shape, and there's no cancer, there's nothing, and they're so happy, and they're perfect in every way except one thing, and that's they miss their owner. But it doesn't stop them from playing and having fun and enjoying themselves, and if they're missing limbs, they have the limb, and they're really vigorous and just going around in the fields. And one day it's our time to go, and when we go, they catch a glimpse of us on the bridge, and they get so excited and start to jump up, and they run toward us, and they meet us. And I pray that honestly, I want to see him again, but I'm more excited that he's okay, that he's not going through all that pain and heartache. And I feel like we acted quickly, meaning like I asked my family for advice, and you all gave me advice, and it wasn't like he was sick for like weeks and weeks in pain. It was only a couple days, literally the vet, 24 hours the morning of that day. So he didn't go through a lot of that. And at the end, before, like I said, he was fine. He was on his pain med, and he was like sleeping, and he wasn't crying or anything. He was sitting up, his ears were up, and he had raw meat, which he loved, like I mentioned, all these wonderful things. And he got ice, and he had his little toy, and he put his head on his little toy, and he had us around him, and we had him. And he's not present, but I have his memories and the joys he brought me and the joys he brought to people. And I really hope his story inspires you to. I mean, if a dog can persevere, why can't we? Right? I know a dog is maybe less worries, but if a blind dog doesn't whine every day that he's blind, I mean, a lot of us aren't blind, and we probably whine more than the dogs do. My point is, they're a great example of being strong and perseverant, and Falco was no exception. He was a champ toward the end. I mean, even with the second dose, it took him long, because I don't interpret it as him not wanting to go. I interpret it as his body was so strong. His heart was strong. Because he was asleep, so it wasn't like, what do you fight when you're asleep, right? It's just his body was ravaged with all that cancer, but his perseverance was there. His strength was there. The love he had for us was there. The home that he was in was there. So I hope that you know that there are always opportunities out there to make sure your pet is happy by just hugging them and being with them and taking them to the park and throwing a frisbee and walking them around. And when your pet gets older, and if God forbid they get sick like this, there are humane options that allow that your pet doesn't suffer. The most humane way possible. I saw it, I was there, I was skeptical, I didn't know what to do. I took a chance because I wanted my little buddy to be treated well, and he was treated like a king at the end, meaning like, right, there's some dogs where you just wake up and they pass away at night, or they get hit by a car, and it's so, this was the way. With your family, in peace, you go to sleep on your bed with your toy. I mean, don't we humans say, how do we want to die? We want to literally die in our bed when we're asleep, right? And not notice. That's what we say. And guess what? I was able to give that to my loved one, my little buddy. It doesn't make me happy, but it makes me content. I was able to be there at his final moments and guide him there. I wasn't there when he was born. I wasn't present. I only knew him when he was 2 years old and after. But I was there in the last moments, right? It's almost like I wasn't there in the last moments of my other dogs. I had 3 dogs before that in my whole life. And I wasn't there when I had Hunter up until when I was 13. He passed away of natural causes. I wasn't there. I didn't see him. My dad told me at age 13 that my dog had died. We were the same age. Then we had a Labrador, Blackie, and she was hit by a car and I wasn't there. I was still too young. And then I had Lita. I was in a relationship with someone and we co-had a dog, co-had a dog, and I wasn't there either. It's a lot of speculation what happened. It was said it was a heart attack. We'll just go with that, because she kind of just dropped and never kind of woke up, and I wasn't there. I saw her when she was passed already, but I wasn't there in her moments. I wasn't there to give her like that comfort of your owners here. They could smell you. My brother was literally massaging my dog's head and being with, and I was talking to Falco, and so I hope you all enjoy this in the sense of I was able to share my story, share Falco with you, and all he did for me when I was depressed. He got me through like 4 breakups throughout 10 years, 4 hard breakups. One not too long ago, and another one which was my biggest relationship back in 2015. And so Falco got me through that. He got me through depression and panic attacks and even a nervous breakdown, I'll admit that. Many of you maybe knew that, maybe didn't, but the point is I kept making videos and I kept working and I kept making you all smile. He made me smile. So Falco is responsible for a lot of the laughs and entertainment that you've gotten from my channel. I hope you understand that. So thank you for supporting. As I said, I'm not monetizing this video. I would just ask that you spread the word about pets and joy and how wonderful they are and how they are family and how you can give them a peaceful transition at the end of their life if that's what they need because of a drastic or aggressive sickness, that they don't have to go through that. Again, it's a pet owner's choice, but I feel like Falco gave me permission. He told me he didn't want to go through that, and that's okay. Yeah. So thank you all. I don't know when I'm gonna make more videos. Hopefully soon. I am going to the Formula 1 race with my dad this Thursday. Hopefully maybe I'll make a video before that. I don't know, everyone. I just ask for your patience. I think it's good for me to go and get my mind off things and spend time with my dad, spend time with a loved one, right? I hope all of you do that, or call or message or someone, a loved one. This video's gone almost for 40 minutes. It's long, but it's okay, because I need all of you to hear about my little buddy and what he did for me, and hopefully he impacted you in a way. I appreciate all of you. I thank you all for your messages. No closing message, with Patreon. No, I'm going to wish you a wonderful day. Be hopeful like Falco was hopeful. He would give me hope in the hardest times. He's giving me hope now to be happy and positive and to keep loving, because I found a great joy and love in him. We'll see you all very soon. Don't forget, be hopeful.